Hey y'all, welcome back to the wonderful videos of anatomy. We are gonna do a little bit of what we call myology. So I'm gonna write that down. Myo means muscles, and ology is obvious. You guys totally know what it means. It means the study of. So, where are we at? We are studying muscles, myo. So when you see the prefix my or myo, you're going to be thinking muscles. Just like the way with bones, which I really wish that we went more thorough into bones, and maybe I will in the future. But when you see the term osteo or ossi or something like that, it usually refers to bone. So today we're doing myology, which is the study of bone. My bad. Study of muscle. Don't listen to me at this early time in the morning, but listen to me because we're going to be doing a lot of important stuff. Okay. Let's see if I can get up here. So let's talk about muscle tissue. We have three types of muscle tissue in our body. And what you'll see here is I have it listed non-striated smooth muscle, striated cardiac muscle, and then striated skeletal muscle. This one at the bottom is going to be pretty easy. Skeletal muscle, we know exactly what it is. It is the majority of the muscles in the body. They are voluntary muscles, so write that down. Voluntary muscles. We choose to move these muscles. Striated is just the structural lines in the cells. So when I say striated skeletal muscle, usually people are just going to refer to it as skeletal, cardiac, and smooth. With striated skeletal muscle, let me see here if we can find the picture to that one. Yes. We're looking at this under a microscope. That is just referring, the striation of the muscle is just referring to the structural lines in the cell. So very structured, designed for power, designed for movement. We can choose when to move them. They are, any other notes that I have here? Basically what you know as muscles, right? Pretty easy enough. Uh-oh, there's my dog complaining about how it can't go outside. Okay, this picture here would be cardiac muscle. Now it's striated as well, so that just, again, it's just the structural lines. You can see skeletal is very structured. Cardiac is specifically structured and too specialized to divide elsewhere in the body. They are found, obviously, cardiac in the heart. So, cardiac, skeletal, we know where they're found. Skeletal is found on your skeleton. Cardiac is found in your heart. It's involuntary, so you can't choose when to move this. Involuntary. And obviously, cardiac means heart. So remember that. That's another thing to remember in cardiac. Okay, let's see here. Then the non-striated smooth muscle. This muscle. Oh, sorry. Okay. Perfect. This muscle here, short spindle-shaped cells. It lacks the same structure that we're talking about in your other muscles. But these muscles, they're involuntary. Involuntary. I'm going to say what you're going to find smooth muscle tissue in is organs like your stomach, your intestines, your bladder, blood vessels. If you eat food, your stomach has to contract and move around, but you're not deciding when that action happens. And it needs to move in such a way that it doesn't have the back and forth structure. Like, let's just, for example, your bicep, it moves in a purposeful direction to lift your arm, but your stomach muscles, they need to contract in many different ways to move the food around, to digest the food, and then to send it through the intestines. Intestines also need to contract in different ways to move it along. And of course, in your bladder and your blood vessels, there are many small little muscle cells that help things move along in there as well. So that is a quick overview of the 3 different types. Remember, each type is different. To remember what those are, talk about smooth, cardiac, and skeletal. That's the way to remember those. So let's see if I can't reset this whole page. Perfect. Yes. Now we're cooking with gas. Okay. Let's see if I can actually move this page around. Okay. So now we are really going to focus on skeletal muscle. So this is muscle that's on your skeleton. It helps move your skeleton. We're going to talk about muscle bellies, tendons, the attachments, and structure of tendons. So muscle bellies has a reddish or meat-like appearance. So let's grab some red down here. We're talking like the main centerpiece of this muscle is going to be your muscle belly, okay? This characteristic of the redness arises from the large population of well-vascularized muscle cells. So when we say the word vascular, it just means there's a lot of blood flow. Obviously, all the other notes I have for this is just like, okay, it's round, it's juicy, it has to be. That's how your muscle functions, is it contracts the big juicy parts. And the tendons, which are more white in appearance, I'm going to use yellow though, they are what attach your muscle to the bone. So its tendons are tough, glistening white sinew. They're going to be found at the fixed end and at the mobile end, called your insertion and your origin. So origin, I totally covered that up. Your origin is more at the fixed part of your body. Let me get another color for that. Blue. This would be where your muscles originate, and then this would be where they insert. So origination is going to be more fixed part of your body, and then obviously your insertion is at the more movable part, and that is going to be how you're going to refer to where the muscle originates and where it inserts. So remember that, because we're going to talk remember those bony landmarks we went through? All those bony landmarks are where muscles are going to attach. So that's why the bony landmarks are so important. Okay, let's get through this a little bit more quickly. The structure of a tendon is, just for a note, is that it's important to note the fibers of a tendon run through the belly of the muscle and attach from end to end. So let me grab a good color here. Let's just say that this is a bone here, and this is your tendon. This tendon is going to run its fibers all the way through the muscle until it attaches at the opposite end, where it either originates or it inserts. So both directions, you're going to have tendon tissue running through your muscle belly. And let's see here. Once it hits the bone, it's actually going to weave into the periosteum. So I want you to remember this word. Peri means around. Oh man, it's not letting me draw. Okay, around. And then ostium. Remember how I told you to remember those things? Ostium equals bone. Whoa, I had to do that in cursive, otherwise stuff would have popped up. So, periosteum is the fibrous structure around the bone, and it protects and gives nutrients to the bone. So, that tissue is going to, the tendinous tissue is actually going to interweave with the periosteum, and it'll go even a little bit deeper into the compact bone, which is this compact bone surface here. So that's the importance of a tendon to the bone. Remember origin, insertion, those are going to be important to know where they attach. Okay, this is going to be a little bit longer of a video. I apologize, especially because my voice is all destroyed. Let's talk about this though. We need to. If you can find this page, oh my gosh, I'm drawing all over the place. If you can find this page, please do. It's a coloring page that I'd like you guys to focus on. Because we're going to talk about each layer of the muscle and the skin and the bone. Basically, if you were to shoot yourself in the arm with an arrow, you could list all the different layers it would penetrate and all the layers it would penetrate coming back out the other side. Not that you're going to shoot yourself with an arrow, not that that's even possible, but you could list all of the layers. So, to begin, we have epidermis. Epi equals upon. Dermis equals skin. So, you have your two layers before you hit the hypodermis. Epidermis is upon the skin, dermis is the skin, and then hypodermis would be below the skin. So hypo equals below. We have a lot of words for below in anatomy, so don't get too confused. But I want you to come over here onto this picture and color the first three layers as your epidermis, dermis, and your hypodermis. So the top layer is obviously your epidermis. We know that as the top layer of your skin. And then you have the dermis, the second layer. Maybe I could color them just to be helpful. I don't know. My coloring skills with my finger on my phone is really struggling. Epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis. There's those first three layers. Then, after those three layers, you're going to hit what's called fascia. Fascia is a very special structural organ. It actually compartmentalizes your muscles because you have deep fascia. And then you also have superficial fascia, which connects every single part of your body to each other. It's like a big spider web that crosses the entirety of the body. That's the fascia. It's very strong. It actually, if you massage particularly to adjust the fascia, you can help people's structure of their body. Their body will completely change. So, cool fact. And let's move on. So, fascia, you can just say the note for that would be structural organ. It compartmentalizes your muscles. So, puts them into compartments. Now we're going to finally hit the muscle, okay? So we have epimysium, perimysium, and endomysium. This can get a little confusing, but take notes for them, okay? You have epimysium, and we know what epi means, right? Because it's the same as epidermis. Epimysium is upon the muscle. Remember, mycelium is muscle, so epimycelium. That's going to be this next layer. Oh my gosh, it's going to make me do this the hard way. Epimycelium. It's just that outer layer of the muscle. Let me see what other stuff I have for it. Yeah, it wraps the bundles of individual bellies. So in this arm, let's just say this is like your leg, or yeah, this looks more like a arm, but let's just say you can see each of these compartments, right? So your epimycelium is what's going to be making those specific compartments. That's this outer layer, okay? Dropping down into perimycelium. Peri, we obviously know, is around, and mycelium is muscle. So let me see if I can get this correct. Your perimycelium is what will divide groups of muscle cells. So let's just say here, gosh, I have this picture that I've colored myself, and this is back from when I went to school. I'm trying to remember everything here. Okay, let's color that. It is like a little tube that is what we call perimycelium. It's a tube that it bundles together a bunch of muscles, individual cells. So it bundles them, and a bunch of these bundles would create your muscle belly, which is surrounded by the epimycelium. And then endo means within. Let's drop that down there with some purple. Endo means within. Mycelium means muscle. Within the muscle. Now we're actually talking about all these lines. You can see these like tissuey lines that are surrounding each individual muscle cell. Each little muscle fiber, I guess you could say. These are your muscle fibers. This stuff that's surrounding them inside the actual perimycelium, that is going to be your endomycelium. So make sure you have all those layers colored, and we'll talk about this later on Zoom if you guys have any questions. I still have yet to kind of decide a time, because I know that you guys say 6 o'clock, but if you guys are still going to school, it would be hard for you guys to Zoom in while you're driving home from school, unless you just wanted to stay at the school. To me, I think it's strange that you guys are still actually going to school, because getting in groups is a little bit dangerous right now. But if you are not going to school, then maybe we could have a different time, just depending on what you guys think. But let's get back to the coloring. So I know that was a lot to take in. If you guys are getting tired of these videos of my voice so far, you can comment down below on the YouTube and just tell me, hey, your voice is terrible. And I'll be like, oh, okay, sorry. So now we get to a little bit more of an interesting discussion. And I don't know that I actually have print-offs for this, but we'll try to see if I do. When we get down to the individual muscle cells, so we're talking, let me find a good color here, orange. If you look at like a microscope, one of these muscle fibrils, this muscle fiber, if you were to cut it and look at what each individual muscle cell contains, we have a breakdown here. So let's say this is what that would look like, but this is what a individual, let's just say, let's take a chunk here and stretch it out. This would be what you call a sarcomere. It's one contractile unit of muscle fiber. So this would be one unit of contraction. You can just say that, 1 unit of contraction. And within 1 unit of contraction, a myofibril, you're going to have the myosin. Myosin is going to be your thick filament, and this is going to be this stuff right here. In the middle, you have, in this sarcomere, for this picture, we have 3. I'm just going to draw arrows to all those. Then you have your actin, and your actin is going to be your thin filament. In this picture, we have a lot more, so I'm not going to draw arrows to all of them. But basically, if you were to see this in action, you'd have your myosin and your actin, and when you contracted, they would connect to each other and squeeze and pull. It's going to be like power stroking, okay? But what is stopping your muscles from what is stopping your myosin and your actin from attaching to each other and pulling and contracting is this really small covering that we call the TTC, the tropotronin complex. Whoa, that's not how you say that. Tropomyosin complex. Okay, and that is actually this. You can see it on the actin. It's like these little S-curved things. That is what's covering the bonding sites on the actin. So the myosin can't attach to the actin until these TTCs are actually removed. So I'm going to see if I can find the actual... I think I have it. Let me find it. Yes, here we are. Beautiful. I'm going to take a snapshot of that. We are going to jump over to my gallery and look at that. Perfect. Okay. So this would be showing you how its movement is happening. You can see at the relaxed state up here, you have just your regular myosin and actin just chilling with each other. And then coming down at the when it's going to attach, the TTC is being removed. The myosin is just being absorbed right onto that actin. And then you have your power stroke, which is what the contraction is going to be. It's going to be squeezing everything together. And then you have a release and relaxed state. Basically, those pictures illustrate it perfectly. You probably didn't even need me talking about it. But the idea behind this is one contractile unit. Muscles are made up of many of these contractile units through the entirety of your muscle belly, your muscle cells, I guess, how do we say this? Muscle cell, muscle fiber, it's made up of like a chain of these to create the entirety of the length of the fiber. So, myofibril, muscle fiber. It's like a chain of these sarcomeres, which all contract at similar moments to help with the movement of your muscles or your bones. So all of this is happening super, super quickly. What would happen, let me explain. Your brain sends out signals through neurotransmitters, and the neurotransmitter for muscle contraction is actually going to be, oh my gosh, what do you call it? Acetylcholine. Okay, acetylcholine. That's important to remember. If I could spell it, I totally would. I'll try just for you guys though. Acetylcholine. There's an E on the end of that. Let me see if I can draw it. Nope. Whatever. Acetylcholine. You guys get the picture. Let me explain a little bit more about muscle contraction. So the initiation begins when calcium enters into the cell membrane, and it removes the doors. The TTC is removed with calcium, and that causes the binding and it shoots, it makes the power stroke happen. Acetylcholine is the neurotransmitter that tells your body to release that calcium so that the contraction can begin. Now, there's other things that are going to happen, is that your body's natural energy has to actually explode within the muscle cell. It's called ATP. ATP is your body's natural energy, just remember that. ATP, it will explode inside this little myofibril, breaking the contraction, and then the sites will close when the calcium is released out of the muscle cell. So that's what we're talking about. Like when people work out a lot, they feel like they have this lactic acid and stuff. That's because your muscles have been contracting and exploding and contracting and exploding little things inside your muscles, little calcium molecules, and so it's building up in there, and it needs to be released. That's how massage kind of helps, is we kind of push it out. We help move it out through the lymphatic system. So I know that was a lot of a video. Just take what you can from it. Everything that is going to be on your midterm is going to be covered. So everything I said, just know that it's going to be covered on the midterm, and you guys are going to be awesome. Thank you guys so much for being amazing, and I will see you guys in the next video.